Um, you know, you see these people. The reason why I wish I should have actually next. Um, you know, you see these people. The reason why I wish I should have actually next time, whenever I have the opportunity, I will definitely add more to this type of perps. Um, Unfortunately, I don't have better pictures of like some of my neighbors who are perping. These people, it's crazy to think that, but these are another like there's some childlike individuals where you see them and they're like, they're trying their best, not even trying their best, they continuously try to tell themselves that they are they're warriors, they're in the front lines. And like this is the kind of gimmicky, kind of troll like things they say. This kind of childlike things they say. Right there in the front line of wars, like they're just wearing the sweatpants, the PJs, and whatever, just relaxing there. Not relaxing, but just watching and doing the things remotely using this technology, which they are contracted to be implementing. Right, and it's far from war, but they have to do foul things to people, right? In the most comfortable state. I mean, it's probably the most comfortable war to ever. It's like you sit down and you just wait, watch somebody, and just slowly break him down and use. And a lot of it is automated, right? We're not talking about like they don't need to manually do anything. Um, but it's something they have to do consistently and nonstop. But it's just far from war. Somebody like that can be replaced in a millisecond. It's just very easy. It takes very little. Just gotta be, delusional. But you have to be foul. And so that's when they come in with their little fantasy of storylines. They tell themselves, "We're the front line. We are war. We're gonna do this." Like, trash. You're a foul piece of shit that is involved in a program that does so much horrible things to even the most vulnerable, and you know that. And this is what you're part of. This is what this money does. These noise campaign that you hear is to try to distract reality. Those noise campaigns are all part of this like ecosystem to try to make you think of a different reality. Do you think these people are like this a war? That was a war motorcycle? No, it's a noise campaign meant to interrupt me from calling these bottom feeders that you see here just the bottom feeders contracted to implement these things to people, which hurts, destroy, and torment the life of a target individual. And this includes children being tortured this way by these bottom feeders. And they go through the scripts and try to disorient you to try to counter the reality, because they have to cope with the fact that they're involved in this. They want to do these things while deluding themselves into a different fantasy. They want to make themselves believe that this is their money and we do this, we're protecting our community. They're bottom feeders that do this nasty pedophilia type of things. I've been talking about these things for a while. The way they try to vilify you, even using, if you look at the video I created in September 2020, you'll see I literally say like how they vilify you, even using people who are supposed to be sensible. And the goal is to try to make you accept a reality that's falsified. And so for you to subscribe to this fantasy they've put together, I mean, there's some of to the point where they tell themselves they are war. They try to use these people, and these people try to present themselves in different ways to try to make it seem like, you see, it's you, we're just analyzing, and they talk about something else and try to show the competency of what they can do, and so based on what you're seeing and how they're able to do this job, you should accept what we're doing to you as if it's you, or we're just mapping, or sorry, not even mapping, but analyzing, and we're just kind of like bringing up something that's in you, but we're just doing something to come up with, and we're not doing the pedophilia type of torture, we're not manipulating your memories, it's you, we're protecting our children. And so this is why in 2020, September, as you can see, that you can read the description, literally saying they have these ways of trying to vilify you and also try to gaslight you into accepting this false reality. Because in reality, look at what they do to women. That's what they're part of, these warriors. Listen to what they do to children. You've heard it many times, and I don't mind bringing that up over and over. And listen to how they force people to think in these pedophilia ways. In earlier, they're making me think when I was showering They will try to make me think of the child of this person, who's like a journalist of some sort, and they'll make me. She's only 2 year old. She's an adorable little baby, and they're forcing me to imagine some disgusting things with this 2 year old. And like, no, you see, you can think like that. If you were a child, you will think like that. But remember what you did as a kid, and try to bring up. If you see that picture over there, you'll see me as a child, right? At that age, I did something stupid. It was a moment thing a thing that did one time impulsively as a child in 8th grade, middle school. Stupid kid did to himself, right? And so when they create these disturbing ways of thinking, they're like, oh no, this is how you would think if you're a kid, and try to make me imagine me doing something to a kid, a 2-year-old kid, and then try to make me think of me as a child, and try to create a way to make me accept these nasty manipulations of my mind. When in reality, they do this pedophilia type of torture. And in reality, right, because they create false reality. But the reality is these entities contracting this low life, because these people are just the bottom feeders. These people are just the people implementing whatever they need to be implementing. But the people truly in charge are none of this. The people in charge are people over there. This is ran by the government. This is ran by governmental entities. This is ran by intelligence community. CIA for sure has a strong fingerprint on this. Extremely. The DOD is for sure involved in this. You think these people are doing this for free? You think it's their money? What? You've seen them? We're talking about spending millions of dollars it's unlimited. Do you think this is coming from them? Or some femme fatale group of feminine? No. These are trash. The same you hear. And they try to use the gender, right? Oh, so it's our money. We're a group of women with money. And you hear that they've been using women to do these horrible things to women. But they try to create this fantasy, which I'm refusing to let them live in. And so what's going to happen to me? Torture. Worse, just because they want it to be this femme fatale group of people, but in reality, this is what they do to women. Listen to what they do to children. And the pedophilia type of torture, is systematically done to people. It's not me when I was a child. When they make me think of this 2-year-old, they make me think of these nasty things. This is what they can make me imagine. It's disgusting. They can make you imagine children in every ways. And for me, they're like, no, but what you did as a kid, it's like, what? A kid can do something stupid, and it's not even what you're making me imagine. What I did is something I did to myself, but you can make me imagine doing what you make me imagine. Making me imagine with this, like, it's just nasty. Try to make me imagine, and that's why you hear this noise campaign. But you're gonna hear reality. This is not imagination when you hear a CIA agent doing things to 2-year-old and 6-year-old. This is reality. And so we hear this noise campaign try to make you accept this thing that they force you to imagine. It's like, no, but when you're a kid, it's no, you're making me imagine that. You can make me imagine whatever you want. You have control of my stream of thoughts. You can make me imagine everything you want. And it's very pedophilia-centric. But the reality is that these pedophilia type of things are not just done to me, but others, and it's systematically done. And not only that, you torture children sexually. And then not only that, the entities really running this show, the reason why they hear these noise campaigns and all of this, the reason why there's so much fun, is because those entities are funding this place. They're funding these programs. And who are those entities? Those entities consist of DOD, CIA, and others, which have a lot of issue with pedophilia. It is a problem, a pattern of pedophilia. While they are forcing me to imagine me doing something to a 2-year-old child. And they say, no, what we do, we map it to that's how you would think if you're a kid. If you're a kid, you could have done this. And they try to make me imagine something and try to make me think of me when I was a kid. Try to say, but if with your child mind at the time, you could think like this. I'm like, what the hell? When you hear this CIA agent doing something to a 2-year-old and 6-year-old. When in reality, they manipulate people to think in these pedophilia ways. Target individuals stay strong and know that these low-life are the low-life bottom feeders that are capable of torturing children and manipulating men and women in these disgusting pedophilia ways.
I can be free from this torture. Every day has been a miracle of survival. I also experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the
They're trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting, disgusting. Take this whole thing into account so much and make it so dramatic. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting, disgusting, disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care. I just
The targets were forced to perform homosexual acts on each other against their will and religion in order not to be beaten or killed. This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And vice versa is true, that heterosexual targets are forced to view homosexual sexual acts like in the
happens. In 2015, I began to experience what some call V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as destructive and violent. I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me, as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions, despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again. In other sessions, he has also grabbed his crotch and said, "Ow," while looking up at me. The nature of the torture I have been experiencing has been highly sexual in nature and highly perverted, involving many combinations of sensory and motor manipulation of my mind and body and of the people around me. This includes many different types of zaps to varying degrees to the genitals, butt, anus, and the entire pelvic area. This also includes many kinds of movements, such as the rocking, swaying, jolting, vibrating, and shaking of my entire body or various body parts, specifically in a sexual way. The severe vibration is a highly noxious stimuli and is very intolerable. They sometimes do pulses or throbbing sensations on the genitals too, etc. There are also body movements such as rocking my pelvic area back and forth, repeated rubbing sensations, the sensation of something going up my crotch and in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly. I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
And have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side. We have all experienced the same type of harassment on different levels. We have all suffered the same symptoms while this harassment was going on. Some of our physical symptoms include severe tooth decay and vision loss, unexplained rashes and burns, severe headaches, mood swings, anxiety, thyroid problems, high blood pressure, heart problems, vision loss, and cancer. Two of my children were born premature, which I attribute to this. Our son Dylan, now age 9, was born very premature. He was born at 31 weeks. During her pregnancy with Dylan, we were being targeted more so than other times. At the delivery, there were weird men walking and waiting around the hospital. Right outside our delivery room window, there was a white cargo van parked with 2 suspicious men inside. They were there the entire labor, a delivery. Our son had to be transported to another hospital 45 minutes away. When arriving to the Toa hospital, those same men and van were present. Three of my children have severe rashes that have not been explained by several doctors. These rashes have been present for several years at a time. If interested, I will gladly furnish you with detailed photos of the rashes. Our infant daughter, at 3 weeks old, was diagnosed with Lerner syndrome. This was after a severe rash appeared on her body after a few days of torture. We were told by a couple doctors to take her home and love her and spend the rest of the time we have with her. They told us she would ultimately die from this syndrome. Thank God that Lerner syndrome was not what affected our daughter. Doctors are still dumbfounded by her rash and symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured. Recently, I lost complete time. I exhibited the flashing lights my 9-year-old
happens. In 2015, I began to experience what some call V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as destructive and violent.
They're trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting. This.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan, and please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
Occasion, I was told I was going to be shot in the face, and it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, you're going to get shot in the face. You know, sound like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the voice to skull, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What
I said, playing with my dog. Now that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them, I usually called demeaning names, and one of them is referring to homosexuals. For me, all of the slaves are misfits, society haters, scumbags, etc. No, I don't have anything personal against them, homosexuals, but as my way to aggravate the slaves, and since they love to use children for the torture and stalking, street theater etc. Especially teenagers for the stalking at close range with an attitude, they are using them during my sleep in the perversion program, and so you can imagine what the slaves of torture are pretending to do to me. In the last days, as today September 9th, 07, anything I do, either watching TV or reading of whatever I'm doing, they brush me sort of say, I feel like I'm aroused all day and I feel the palpitations in my genitals for what I'm thinking, and since the attack comes so quickly, I realized my programming has been set on auto, in their central computers, no handlers could do something like this that quick. What made me realized, the slaves are desperate to get me. Unfortunately for them, they are facing a strong wall where no matter how much their computers EAP me, I know I'm not changing. As I said, I feel like they've been set up a beam where I feel constantly stimulated. I'm talking sexually, like a heat in my genitalia, like getting aroused constantly, trying to make me feel uncomfortable, because
any part of the body. This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal, or it can sort of turn off the
able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
Oh, wow. That's the thing. The rest of the cases, they were sent back to the CIA to handle them internally. Where are you?
Well, don't worry, Stephen. I think a few of them were fired.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The rest of the cases, they were sent back to the CIA to handle them internally, whatever the hell that.
Where do you think you work?
CIA.
That must mean there is such a lack of fearing any sort of accountability. For crying out loud. While on assignment, 1,400? You must have not been doing any job.
Well, even if you had to look at it to make sure you knew what it was, don't you just need to look at one?
Right.
You're like, I better check the other 1,399
Yes,
just to be safe.
Yes, I better
Each
check the other
file.
1,300 labeled tax things.
Unbelievable.
Oh, my goodness.
And the guy with the 6-year-old?
Disgusting.
Twice.
Yeah, twice.
Twice with the 6-year-old.
So and here's the scariest part. Out of the 10 instances that are described in the report, only one person was ever charged with anything.
Yeah.
With anything. Comment below. Do you guys know this story? This should be catnip for the media, right? Think about it. You've got this lewd behavior. You've got corruption at the highest levels of government, right? Aaron Brockovich, something about fake tits and tap water.
Yeah.
The CIA, raping children and sexually.
Oh, wow.
That's the thing. The rest of the cases, they were sent back to the.
This is Jeremy Radlow. I'm here to tell you that non-consensual human experimentation is happening in the United States today. I've been the subject of this experimentation for more than 5 years. Calling these activities experimentation is truthful but possibly distracting. I think the criteria governing the selection of experimentees will prove to be a much bigger scandal than the experimentation itself. The psychological torture protocol that's part of the so-called experimentation includes, but is not limited to, the use of non-lethal weapons and mind-invasive technology. Sleep deprivation, pain center stimulation, and worse are used against subjects. While some experimentees have found foreign objects in their bodies suggesting implantation, most have not. Receiverless mind-invasive technology has been demonstrated under laboratory conditions, but the most likely explanation is that experimentees are implanted with foreign objects either too small to appear on commercially available scanning equipment or designed to be indistinguishable from the surrounding tissue. These activities are highly deceptive, use clandestine technology, and have the fingerprints of the CIA all over them. It's unreasonable to expect isolated individuals receiving this treatment to furnish proof. A thorough investigation is warranted.
Had sexual contact with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, he was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. The CIA did not answer detailed questions, saying only that the agency takes all allegations of possible criminal misconduct committed by personnel seriously. So you're saying the reason why they didn't take this more seriously, why there weren't actual prosecutions that were carried out, is because what they were trying to not only protect their agency, but trying to protect the country from being compromised in some way by our foreign enemies who would use this information in some kind of bribery scheme?
I think that it's actually quite worse than that. In my personal opinion, my analysis based on this is that they know that we're already
acknowledge viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening for whatever reason with more frequency in our intelligence agencies, or is this something that is more pervasive in the general population than I originally realized? I mean, what's going on here? This is so bizarre.
Remember,
it's so evil.
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind?
Able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
I can be free from this torture. Every day has been a miracle of survival. I also experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture.
They're trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting. Take this whole thing into account so much. I make it so dramatic. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting.